Around that time, electronics always has a fun meaning in your life. If you're in high school, you can make a little device that makes a tone, a little high-pitched tone, and you can hide it in rooms or behind TV sets. And it bothers dogs, of course, or, they can hear the high tones, and some people with good hearing can hear it, but they can't quite tell where it's coming from. And you discover in high school that generally the teacher says, no, the TV's on the blitz, and it's the students who say, no, it's got to be a little noisemaker up there. Only the teachers get fooled. Around this time, first year of college, got a TV jammer. Got onto it, a friend got me on how to build a little device you hold in your hand, and you turn a knob, and it jams a TV set. And so I would take it down over to one of the other dorms, because in my dorm, they knew me. And I would take it down in the basement of this dorm, and there'd be 20 kids watching a little colored TV. And I'd sit way in the back in the dark, and I'd have this thing in my hand, completely concealed, and I would tune it perfect, and all of a sudden, whatever the shows of 1968 were, it would start to go bad. And for the first few tries, I had a friend of mine in the front row get up and hit the TV, bonk, and it goes perfect. And then I jam it again, and he gets up, and after a while, he has to hit it harder and harder, but it always, if you shake that TV enough, it works. And people can get very frustrated when inanimate objects don't work, when they have a problem inside. It's normally very docile, peaceful, college students in the days of Vietnam will turn into animals, vicious killing animals, if it's a machine that's doing them in. They can, if it's a person, it's nice, can mellow out, but generally they would wind up by the end of a half an hour, it's easy to get any group of college kids hitting it with chairs and pounding all their fists on the TV set if it's an important show, and they've got to see the end of it, because they know that if you shake it good enough, it'll work. And I started visiting that dorm a lot just to see where this little psychology research would go. So they would generally station one guy right next to the TV set every night, and it was his job, every time it went bad, to start hitting it till it went good. And, that went far enough, so sometimes I would just leave it jammed, and they'd get 5 people up there turning every control they could find on the back and the front, lifting antennas, and one time, I jammed it, and it went bad, and the guy said, hey, the repairman was in, and he said it was the antenna. So they lifted the antenna up in the air, and the TV went perfect. For a while. And then they had to stand up real tall. And it went perfect. And the guy climbed up on a chair finally, and it was perfect for a few minutes. And when it went bad, he stood up on his tiptoes, and it was perfect. And he came down on his heels, and it was no-go. That's almost as frustrating as the guy who gets up and turns the fine-tuning, and it goes perfect. And then he pulls his hand away, and it goes bad. Fine-tunes it perfect, and he pulls his hand away bad. So one time, this bunch of people, guy was up there, and I happened to notice a few people were at the TV set. One guy had his hand on the middle of the screen, he hadn't noticed it, and his foot was up in the air on a chair. And I noticed that, so I turned the jammer off. And then when he took his hand away, the TV went bad. And he noticed it, he detected that if his hand went away or if his foot went down, it went bad, because they were always looking for what positions would make it perfect and then hold it. Well, water. Anyway, so he's there with his hand on the middle of the screen, and they decided, they had a little bit of electricity knowledge, I guess. They said it was a grounding problem. So they sat there for a half an hour with a hand on the middle of a TV screen, and that was fun.